But we'll get this going. Tonight we're going to be covering some of the Passion of Christ and how it was that the Messiah had told everybody previous, all not only his apostles, but to anybody that would listen, that he would be resurrected after 3 days of death and burial. And according to the text that we're going to be looking at, the Gospel of Gamaliel, we'll be reading the Passion of Christ from this particular text. And for those that do know, and if you don't, Gamaliel was the teacher of Paul, and he was also the high priest before Caiaphas, and he taught and was the head rabbi of all the Sanhedrin and the Pharisees and all those that were learning as far as rabbinical law. But anyways, he's also the brother of Joseph of Arimathea, and we know that Joseph um, was the one that had pleaded for the body of Christ, and he was given that the courtesy to take Christ down from the cross and to prepare his body for burial. And they did all this on the eve before the morning Sabbath. And he was also a brother to Gamaliel as well. But we're going to read from this text, examine it a little bit, and share with you a lot of information that probably few of you are familiar with, unless you have purchased and read from the text that we have released on the Gospel of Gamaliel. Very interesting manuscript. Hope that you will be intrigued, to say the least. But want to thank all the moderators again, Sherry and Tammy and Brick and all the kind people that join us. Adrian, good to see you. And everybody else in the chat there. Here I am, and all the regulars. We appreciate all of you very much. But at least I'll give you a chance to comment and just catch up. Any updates on anything that you're researching, anything that you've studied, anything of interest, any movies that you've seen, and anything of that nature.
All right, Zen. Yeah, it's great to be here. I still hear a little echo in the back. There we go. But yeah, just so happy to be here and just considered part of the biblical canon. But just wanted to give everyone an update. You guys have been praying for my husband, Noble. He did have cataract surgery yesterday. It was totally successful. Today, he's able to see much clearer. He's not having double vision. He said that he didn't realize how yellow everything was in his left eye until he had the surgery. And so he has perfectly awesome clear vision in his left eye. And so just so happy that that went well. And thank you guys for praying for him. Thank all of you in the chat, and thank you again to our moderators. You guys are so awesome, and just be able to just easily come over and find the next live stream here so you can join us. And I was telling Zen earlier, it's been like super, super hot here in Hawaii, but I've been kind of taking advantage of it, going on some walks. I did have a little plug taken out of my skin in my leg last week at the dermatologist because they're still trying to figure out exactly what strain of staph infection I've been dealing with since last October. But that's been slowly resolving, and I just thank everyone for your prayers for me with that. And I also wanted to comment, Sherry Papin in the chat mentioned that, and I agree with this, Nicodemus is also, it was the third brother of Gamaliel and Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus. That's correct, right, Zen?
That is correct, yes. And thank you for bringing that up. And yes, that is a very important piece of information, which is why Joseph of Arimathea, who was the uncle of the Messiah, he, when he begged the body of Christ, he went to his brother for assistance. And that's why it was Nicodemus and Joseph, that did prepare him, and then he entombed him into his own plot, his own grave plot. Because Joseph, of course, was a valuable, wealthy trader. And I do believe that Christ had traveled with him also extensively and went to different parts of the world with him as he did his trading and selling wares and goods. And so that's another intriguing aspect of the story that is little known. But yeah, so um, yeah, that's a very important piece of information and one that not a lot of people know about. So you have Gamaliel and Nicodemus, which both of them became believers. We see that in the gospel. And I don't know, Lisa, if you've been watching or have seen the latest season of The Chosen, which is about the Passion of the Christ and all that he had, overcome and endured going to the cross. But uh, it's, that's a very moving series. The last few episodes I watched, I was actually in the hospital. I believe it was season 4 that was released then, and that series moves me to tears quite often. It's deeply touching. Have you seen or watched or kept up with it?
Could you try again?
Yes, actually, I haven't kept up recently, but up until I believe the last season ended, Noble and I were watching pretty much every single episode. But I do need to go and catch up with that one, the most recent one, with the resurrection. And if you guys do want to purchase the book that Zen and I will be reading from today, the Gospel of Gamaliel, it's a very thin book, but it's packed with information. Oh my goodness. I would definitely recommend go to Sacred Word Publishing and you can get your copy there. It's so worth it. I look at it and it's a lot thinner than the other books too. So it's a very easy read. And it's a nice large print, and I really appreciate that, especially as I'm getting older and my eyesight, and along with Noble's, is kind of deteriorating just a bit. But the large print really does help. And also, too, I was thinking about those 3 brothers, the Nicodemus, Gamaliel, and Joseph of Arimathea. I believe Joseph was a lawyer. It mentions in the Bible itself. And Nicodemus, of course, he was a member of the priesthood. And the Sanhedrin, I guess you could say. And they were also relatives of the Messiah. Is that correct, Zen? I'm trying to remember what book that's in.
Yes, that is correct. Joseph of Arimathea, he was an uncle, so I'm guessing the others were similarly related. So, yeah, that's a very, again, intriguing aspect of the story. But let's get into the reading so that we can comment and we can, stop and take questions and answers. Those of you that are in chat, please do like and subscribe. It does help the algorithm, and we appreciate all of you sharing your attention and time with us. We will stop at the top of the hour. Of course, we won't be hearing the commercial break, but it will be playing in the background for the Revolution Radio live stream and for all the radio stations that are tuned in to the broadcast. So, we'll stop at 57 after. But looking forward to the reading. And would you care to start, Lisa?
Sure, no problem. Did you want me to just start at the top? This is the section called the Lament of the Virgin. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go ahead and start. And go ahead. You just stop me whenever you want to comment or say anything about what I'm reading. Okay, Zen?
Sounds good. Just go like 3 or 4 paragraphs and we'll stop.
Okay, sounds good. The Gospel of Gamaliel. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost, we will write a discourse composed by Syracuse, bishop of the town of Banasa, on the merits of the pure Virgin Our Lady Mary and her affectionate weeping on the day of the crucifixion of our Lord, when, on the day of his holy resurrection, she went to the door of the sepulchre of her Son and did not find his body. because he had risen up from the dead. May his blessing be with us. Amen. When she reached the Golgotha, she noticed a great throng of people in groups of different tribes and clans looking at her son on the cross. People of various nationalities from all districts had assembled in Jerusalem in that holy month for the immolation of the Lamb. Amgazites, Balakites, Moabites, Kabarites, and Ishmaelites. All these were pressing in groups against one another for the great and wonderful sight. Some people were saying, they condemned this one today with injustice. And others were saying, they have emptied their wrath on him. Some were saying, they were seeking the death of this one for many years. And some others were saying, they have killed a brave man today. Some were saying, if there was justice in this town, they would never have been able to kill this one. And yet some others were saying, this is the one for whom the emperor sent in order to make him a king over all Judea, and that is why Herod ordered his death. Some people cursed Herod because of him, saying, the one who took his brother's wife while he was still alive and rendered him a poor and a wretched man has also killed this one without pity. As to the virgin, she inclined her face towards the earth on account of her weeping and humility, and she was not able to see her son quickly because of her painful weeping and the thronging of the great multitudes of people. She said therefore to John, where is my beloved son, so that I may see him? The pressing of these numerous people against one another does not allow me to see him. And John said to her, lift your head towards the western side of these people, and you will see him extended on the cross. And the virgin looked towards all those multitudes of people, and she saw him. She did not cease to wade with John through the multitudes until she came and stood at his right and looked at him in his sufferings. When God saw his mother, he looked towards John and said to him, O man, this is your mother. And then he said to his mother, O mother, this is your son. And John held the virgin's hand in order to take her to his house. But the virgin, his mother, said, O John, let me weep over him, as he has no brother and no sister, and do not deprive me of him. O my son, would that I had with you a crown of thorns on my head, and would that I could make it as painful as yours. If the penalty of all the robbers is crucifixion, why have they not stripped you of your garments, Judas, since you are a thief and stole from the bag? Oh, John, look at my wretchedness today in the middle of these multitudes. Look at my lowliness and at the pains of my heart. Let me look at his face to my satisfaction. Let me look at his sufferings to my satisfaction, as I have never seen him in such a state before, except today. Let me weep over him, because my sufferings are today greater than his sufferings. The lying place of all the paupers is the dung heap. Let me then look at him to my satisfaction, because I am an orphan without father, without mother, and without relatives. This is the wailing indulged in by the virgin while she was at the right side of her son. She was in a state of confusion owing to the intensity of her pain, and because of the greatness of her sorrow, she did not notice the great multitudes that were present. She was only bent on weeping. Now there were present there Joanna, wife of Chuza, Mary Magdalene, and Salome, and these got hold of Mary and lifted her up. Her wailing was truly sweet while she was surrounded by pure women who were weeping with her because of the sweetness of her words. Other Jewish women who heard her weeping scoffed at her, saying, Our vengeance has come today on you and on your son, because it is through you that our wombs have become childless from the year in which you brought him forth. Zen,
All right,
did you
let's
have any
stop there.
comments?
Yes. A couple things that I wanted to bring forward to everybody's attention, which, a lot of people don't know, but in the very beginning of the story, it tells us that Mary, the Virgin Mary, the mother of the Messiah, she was the first person that Christ went to after he was resurrected. It mentioned this at the beginning of the story, and it will confirm this as we move further into the story. But because most people believe that Mary Magdalene was the first person to see the Messiah, but this is not true. She was the second. Christ first went to his mother, and then he went to Mary Magdalene. And you see that Mary Magdalene and Salome was the half sister of Mary, and she was the one that, after she tested Mary as far as her virginity, she dedicated herself to being a caregiver to the Messiah, and she even traveled with them to Egypt in the time when he was 2 years old, when they were escaping the slaughter of all the children in Bethlehem. But one other thing you see also in this story, that it mentions that Christ does not have any other brothers or sisters. And this is the blood relatives directly from the Virgin Mary, because she was a perpetual virgin, and she was a virgin following the Immaculate Conception of the Messiah. And this was one of the supernatural occurrences which confirmed, that this was not a natural, as far as birth into the world. And then the other thing to take notice of is that Joseph is not present, and he was not there at the Passion of the Messiah when he was on the cross, which is why when he was dying, he was concerned for the well-being of his mother, and he directed John the apostle to take her on as his mother, in the same way that she took him on as her son. And so in that way, he secured her comfort and being taken care of after he left this world. And so, those three themes will be presented further, especially the perpetual virginity of of Mary. And that's why, she was known as and called the Virgin. Would you care to comment?
Yeah, we're teaching the book of John in our in-person Bible studies here in Hawaii. And that's a huge question that always comes up, because Hollywood always depicts Joseph and Mary as being the same age.
Right.
And then when you read the extra books, it's like so not true. And it makes so much more sense that Joseph was just way, way, way older. I mean, he had grandchildren that were older than Mary,
Right.
and to him just be her guardian. Like she was a virgin her entire life. And when we teach this in Bible study, we always get a lot of like, what? No way. And so then we have all these other nice extra texts to bring up that really prove that. Although in the Bible, we don't hear anything about Joseph after the Messiah was 12 years old. Right. And so I just think that's really important that you make sure that you teach people.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a very important point, because a lot of people believe that Joseph and Mary, that they had, that they had children together and that they were intimate, which they were not. She never had sexual relations with Joseph. And in the story of Joseph, the history of Joseph the carpenter, it tells the story, he tells the story of how he had a wife from a previous marriage who had passed on, and he had children from her, 4 daughters and 2 sons. And James the Just, who's called the half-brother of the Messiah, and also Didymus Thomas, they were the 2 younger sons, and they were close in age to the Messiah. But they were not his blood relatives. They were his, Mary took them on as her stepchildren, and she raised them, and they called her mother, but she did not have any other children, and she was, as we said, a perpetual virgin all throughout her life, which this was confirmed as well. But I'll read the next three chapters, paragraphs.
All right.
The heads of the Jews spoke then with the soldiers of Herod and hardened their hearts to kill Jesus. They had informed Herod the Pilate that Pilate, with a great number of people, loved Jesus, and they had added, "We fear that in going to crucify him, those people might raise against us and snatch him from our hands on the advice of Pilate. Give us, therefore, order and power to crucify him." And they had given him much money, and he had given them the power required, and sent his soldiers to them. This is the reason why Pilate did not go out with him that day. He feared an armed conflict between him and the Jews. Indeed, Pilate and his wife loved Jesus like their own soul, and the flogging that he had ordered for him was done in order to satisfy the wicked Jews, and so to save him from death. Had he known that they would crucify him, if he were to die with his wife and his sons, he would not have laid hands on him at all. The Jews had lied to Pilate, saying, "If you only chastise this rebel for us, and if he ceases to heal people on the Sabbath day, we will release him." It is under this false pretext that Pilate had ordered him to be flagellated. I'm going to stop there for just a second. This story tells us that Pontius Pilate and his wife, they loved Christ. They loved the Messiah. And in fact, it was his wife that had a dream and warned him to not have any, condemnation or dealings where he was going to cause pain to the Messiah or to, crucify him unjustly. She warned him, but he tried to keep a revolution from happening in Jerusalem and to satisfy the Jews who, because they were led by the Pharisees, they were out to conspire the murder of the Messiah. And so that, as it said here, that's why they flogged him, but they did not, he did not want to do that. But he only did it because he thought that this would satisfy them and that Christ would be released, because they did release the one criminal on that particular Passover. Lisa, comment?
Yeah, and if you guys want more information on this, what Zen was describing about Pontius Pilate, the book from Sacred Republishing, the Gospel of Gamaliel, the second half includes a summary of the martyrdom of Pontius Pilate from another extra biblical source. So that's extremely important to read as well.
Yes, absolutely. And also, the letter of Pontius Pilate to Tiberius Caesar before he was brought before him, and also the Archica volume. Both of these go into great detail into this account and this story as well. But I'll continue. The above conspiracy took place before the Virgin stood at the right side of her son, and John wished to take her to his house. She then rose, weeping and lamenting, and returned to town, saying, "I leave you in peace, my child, you and the cross upon which you have been lifted up. I salute your face full of grace, which they have insulted, and at which they have railed. I salute your nudity, O King, who is in the middle of robbers. I salute your royal garment." This is another thing that the people that were crucified, they were run through the town completely nude. They did not have any loincloth or any kind of garment in that way. They were humiliated and harassed in the same way that in the Game of Thrones, the queen, I forget her name now, but she was run through the city, and all the people were throwing, like feces and different things at her. It happened in the same way back in ancient times. All right, I'll continue.
Wow.
Yeah, so we see that in this story, and this is the only one that covers it in that manner. I don't know if people were just did not want to portray the Messiah as having undergone this kind of treatment, but that's the way it went down. But all right, let us continue, and then you can comment and read. O my child, which is in the hands of your enemies, I salute you, O my beloved, with the crown of thorns which is overshadowing you. The virgin was saying all this while she was being taken weeping to the house of John. There she did not cease to weep, nor did she give slumber to her eyelids, but she kept weeping and wailing. After John had placed her in the house, he did not neglect to go to Cranion and witness till the end all the sufferings of his master. When the body had ceased to function, he gave up the ghost. Then all the town shook from the great earthquake that occurred in the earth and the signs that took place in heaven. When the virgin noticed that the earth quaked and that darkness spread over all the town, she said, "This is a sign that my son has died." While she was saying this, lo, John came weeping, and the virgin said to him, "Is it not true that my son died on the cross?" And he inclined his head and said, "Yes, he died." Lisa?
Wow, that is, I love the detail that we get here in this text that we don't really get too much in the Gospels that are in the Bible.
Right.
And I just think it's so important to know, like, to what Mary went through. Another thing I was going to bring up real quick is that I think that Hollywood, The Chosen, other films like that, they tend to focus a lot on Mary Magdalene instead of what
Right.
Mary the Virgin went through.
Yes.
And I think that by design, because that's like one of their deities. I heard Joseph of Arimathea is they're kind of like exalted among the pagans for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why, but I noticed that they always focus on, especially Mary Magdalene, when Hollywood depicts all of this.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I was gonna say one other thing, but I forgot. If I remember, I'll bring it up. But you read the next three.
Okay. All right. How great were the weeping and the lamentations of the virgin at that hour. With intense pains of the heart, she wept and said, "Woe is me, O my child, because of this dreadful death which you have incurred. I did not find a governor to inquire into the injustice done to me, nor a judge to gouge the pains of my heart. O governor, if you had judged with justice according to the law, the son of the king would not have been killed while hungry and thirsty. O high priest, if you had judged with justice, Judas would have been worthy of crucifixion instead of my son. If you had pondered over your decision, O governor, you would not have crucified my son in his nudity. If you had judged with equity, O high priest, you would not have released a robber from death and killed the prince. If you had judged with equity, O governor, you would not have killed a valiant man while war is looking you in the face. If you had judged with equity, O high priest, you would not have uttered insulting words to your master. I hear that at a time when people are at war, if it happens that they capture the son of the king, they take great care of him and do not kill him, but send him to his father as an honor. Why then, O high priest, when you asked my son the truth and he told it to you, you hated him. You preferred a lie and put your trust on it. You asked for truth. Do you not know then that the one who is standing before you is truthful? Nay, truth and life? Truly, Virgin, O Holy Mary, you have met with injustice in the town of Jerusalem more than many of your generation, because they attacked the great one who is in it and delivered him to the judgment of death.
Okay, stop right there because the next part is a skip down a little bit, but this is just the introduction to this particular text. I did want to bring forth really quickly this point, which is also found in the letter of Pontius Pilate to Tiberius Caesar about the darkness and the earthquakes. It says, "Then all the towns shook from the great earthquake that occurred in the earth and the signs that took place in heaven. When the Virgin noticed that the earth quaked and that darkness spread over all the town, she said, 'This is a sign that my son has died.'" In the Archica volume and also in the letter of Tiberius Caesar, Pontius Pilate, Tiberius Caesar, this earthquake is mentioned, and the story of the earthquake and where they happened, the earth quaked and swallowed up many of the synagogues of the Pharisees that had conspired the murder of the Messiah. This story is not very well known, but it is related by the Jewish individual Theodosius I believe it's on the priesthood of Jesus Christ. But many of the synagogues of, as I said, the Pharisees that conspired the murder of the Messiah, they were swallowed up in the same way that Korah was when they challenged Moshe and his authority with the Levitical priesthood. And of course, we know that the veil was rent from the top all the way down in the Holy of Holies as well. And then the other thing is with the robber. We know that in the story of the infancy Gospels, as Christ is being taken to Egypt to escape the purge that was happening in Bethlehem, the murder of all the young children from 2 ages to newborn. He met Didymus, who was the thief, and he gave them safe passage into Egypt, even though his father worked for the government, and he was actually looking for the Messiah, and he was tasked with being on the border and keeping and seizing the Messiah, but he gave him safe passage. And that's when the Messiah Christ told his mother that because she wished blessings upon him for him having granted them safe passage. And also he paid off the robbers who were his friends from harassing Joseph and Mary, Christ, and Salome. And so it was because of his good deeds that Christ told his mother that Didymus would be with him in the day that he was crucified, and that he would allow him to go into and to enter and to wait for him in paradise, and that he would be redeemed in that way. So that's a very cool aspect of the story. Feel free to comment, and then we'll go into the next portion, and you can read the first paragraph.
Okay, thank you, Zen. I have two things that came to mind. The first thing is that during one of Gary Wayne's Ask Me Anythings, I had a question for him specifically because I had done kind of a deep dive on Edomites, based on Brett Thomas's research, and he focuses a lot on the Edomites and their bloodlines in his latest book. And so I asked Gary Wayne if he could research, or what is his research on the bloodline of Judas Iscariot, because we know from his last name that he came from a town called Kerioth, and you can find that in the Old Testament as Kiriath Arba. It actually means just city or city of giants, which yes. We now call Hebron. And so we know that Judas Iscariot's father was of the bloodline of Judah, but his mother was an Edomite. So he was actually a relative of Herod and of the Pharisees, of the high priest, all of the corrupt people, which would totally make sense because of course that would be the one that would be betraying the Messiah, right?
Right.
I mean, I didn't know that before, but that totally links everything together. And the other thing too, what you're saying about the earthquake, I just think that it's so cool because it's actually a prophetic thing that will happen, as mentioned in the book of Revelation, to the Mount of Olives
Yes.
when the Messiah returns as well.
Right.
So I just want to make those two comments.
Yes, and there were 3 hours of darkness, and it got so dark that all the stars in the heaven came out and were seen for this long period of darkness, which, you know, a lot of people say that it was just an eclipse because it was on Passover. It would be a full moon, you know, the eve of the full moon, but this is not so, because that would have only been like, you know, a minute or so at the most. But this was something that took place over hours. And I'll make mention, because I listened to that show that you did with Gary, and I wanted to add at that time, but I forgot, that in the infancy Gospels, it specifically mentions Judas because they grew up together. And when they were younger, Judas had kind of stabbed Christ in the side, you know, in the same way that he would be pierced by the Roman centurion Longinus. And at that time, it also said that he was considered, and he was of the seed of the serpent, of the children of Cain. But I don't know, of course, the lineage for him. That would be an interesting study, as you made mention. But he was definitely called, you know, seed of the serpent. So I would agree with you on that account. But
yeah.
All right. Well.
Yeah, there's also extra biblical book. Oh, sorry. One more thing, then. Yeah. Along those same lines, in the New Testament Apocrypha, book called the Judas Iscariot, it definitely confirms he was a mercenary for Herod. Like childhood and the way he was conceived, even, and the way that they deceived him is he grew up like an orphan, and then they had him marry this random, turned out to be his mother. I mean, it's just horrible life that he had every opportunity to repent. He had and he still chose, because everybody has a choice, even Judas did.
Right, absolutely. All right, read 2 more.
All right, should I continue with after all this? Is that
yes.
That's we want me to continue reading there?
Yes, please.
Okay. After all this, the Christ was still hanging on the cross, and many confessed, saying, "This man who performed all these deeds is the Son of God." All the people who believed wept while he was on the cross. Then Pilate summoned the centurion who was sent by Herod in order to crucify Jesus. And he ushered him into his house and said to him, "Have you seen, O my brother, what the Jews and Herod did to this just man, and how they killed him with such an injustice, that all this happened on the earth? I tell you, O my brother, that all this evil is not by my will, but on the advice of Herod. I wished to release him and save him from death, but when I noticed that this was against the wish of Herod, I delivered him to the Jews for crucifixion. See now, what ransom shall we give to God for his son, whom we have killed?" Then the centurion, together with the owner of the spear and Pilate, began to weep bitterly, saying, "May his blood be on Herod and on the high priest." Then Pilate summoned the high priests, Annas and Caiaphas, before the public and said to them, "O haters of bodies and drinkers of blood unjustly shed, see now what happened as a consequence of the death of Jesus of Nazareth on the cross. May his blood be on you and on your children." And they struck at their chests and at their faces, saying, "May the blood of this erring man be on us and our children for 1,000 generations." And Pilate said, "What? Even now, after all the signs that he showed in heaven and earth, you are not awestruck and amazed like all the people?" And they said, "We are not afraid, because we have fulfilled the law." And Pilate said, "O high priest, if you have fulfilled the law, why are your clothes rent? The law says that if a high priest rends his clothes, he falls from office." And he answered, "I rent my clothes because he blasphemed against the Most High God and against the law." And Pilate said to him, "I order you not to enter the temple another time like a high priest, but like a rebel. And if anyone tells me that you have gone to the temple, I will cut off your head." And the high priest said to him, "Which governor has, in the preceding time, interdicted a high priest, has enjoyed a long term of office?" He said this because he was under the jurisdiction of Herod. And Pilate said to him, "Are not then that have are for all the people?" And the high priest said to Pilate, "You are a young shoot in this town. You do not know the meaning and the portent of these signs. This month is Barmuda, and in it the revolution of the sun and moon plays. At this time the sorcerers give to the moon color of blood, and detract by their spells. They do it in order to exact work from the husbandman, and to prognosticate concerning the fruits, the crops, the wines, and the oils." This is what the high priest lied and said. Did you want to comment?
No, that's good. That's good. Thank you. Yeah, interesting that this manuscript also tells us right there at the end that it is the sun and the moon which are moving in revolution, which that is the truth, because the earth is the foundation and the heavens are spread as a curtain above it, and it is within the firmament that the sun, the moon, Mercury, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn all have different orbits in what is termed the seven heavens. And so, but they were also trying to explain this off as to what had happened. They're saying that it was a lunar eclipse when it was not. And of course, we know that God brought darkness.
Zen, are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I see in the chat that we're kind of breaking up here.
Yeah, you were breaking up as you read. I don't know why that was, but
okay, sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
All right, they said you're clear.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Do you have a comment on any of what you read before we move forward?
No, go ahead, Zen.
Okay. All right. Great. Then Pilate rose from his chair and scourged him with a rough whip. He plucked also the hair of his beard and tormented him and said, "You wish to bring the wrath of God on the earth on account of your hatred for Jesus?" Then the centurion and the soldiers said, "You prefer death to life." After having chastised him on the recommendation of Pilate, they sent him to prison on the advice of the centurion until such time as they would send him to the emperor. After this, Pilate conferred with the centurion and said, "Is his body going to hang on the cross?" And the centurion said to Pilate, "The power is in your hands, O governor." And Pilate said to him, "Do you wish that we should take him down from the cross and confide him to a reliable man for 3 days, in order that perchance he may rise as he himself raised many people from the dead?" When Pilate uttered these words, the heads of the Jews shouted suddenly and said, "It is against the law to deliver a dead man to anyone. The grave is the resting place of the dead." All right, let me stop there for a second. Because, see, it tells us, and this is the purpose, the whole purpose of why we're examining this text. Because a lot of people believe and they teach that, nobody knew that Christ was going to be resurrected after 3 days in the grave. But here Pilate tells us, And Pilate said to him, "Do you wish that we should take him down from the cross and confide him to a reliable man for 3 days, in order that perchance he may rise, as he himself raised many people from the dead?" So they knew that he was going to be resurrected from the dead after 3 days, and that this was not a secret that was just held and known by the apostles. And in the canonical material, it kind of shares the story that the apostles didn't even really understand what he was talking about, as far as, the sign of Jonah, and that he would be 3 days in the grave, and that he would be resurrected thereafter. But this was common knowledge, and it was something that everybody knew, and that the rabbis, the Pharisees, that's why they hired the Roman centurions to lie, that if anything happened. And they posted an entire regiment of troops there to make sure that nothing shady happened. And, of course, they were trying to prevent the Messiah from returning, but as we'll see in this story, they could not. And, the soldiers that were there were mind blown by what they had seen and experienced. Care to comment?
No, I'm blown away too. I just think it's so cool, all of the links that we get, the extra information that we should be getting in the canon. But this is a great read, Zen.
Yes, and I believe that we are the only one that has published this text. Why that is, I don't know. I think it's the most detailed and important accounting of the Passion of Christ, and gives so much more details than even what we see in the gospel accounts of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But yeah, this together with all of those gospel narratives gives you greater insight into what had happened and how it went down. But let us continue. After this, Joseph, who was from Arimathea, came to Pilate and asked permission to take down the body of Jesus Christ from the cross. And Pilate was pleased, and he ordered it to be given to him. And the Jews walked behind him with the guards. Joseph then took it down from the cross and buried it in conjunction with Nicodemus. The Jews, however, had an argument with him, because they did not wish to bring down his body from the cross, but to leave it on the wood like that of all other robbers, because Jesus had made mention of his resurrection. See, there again, it's confirming. After they had shrouded him well in perfumed myrrh and new linen wrappings, which had not been used for another man at all, they laid him in a new tomb in which no other body had ever been laid, because it was newly made for Joseph himself, the owner of the garden. They then fastened him well till the 3rd day. When the body of Jesus was placed in the sepulchre, the Jews went to Pilate and said, "You know that it is the Sabbath." And they asked for 4 witnesses for his tomb, 2 from the soldiers of Herod and 2 from the soldiers of the centurion. They confided the tomb to them and ordered them to guard it until the 3rd day. And the centurion remained in Jerusalem till the 3rd day in order to see the miracle. And he said, "If Jesus rises from the dead, I shall have no further need of the power of Herod." After all this, John went in haste to the virgin and said to her, "They have laid him, my master, in a good new tomb, and have shrouded him with new wrappings, good perfume and myrrh of a high quality." And the virgin inquired, "Who was the one who did this good thing to my beloved son?" And he informed her that it was Joseph and Nicodemus, the venerable chiefs. All right, I'll pass it to you.
Wow, that's so amazing. Do you want me to continue reading? It looks like we're close to be at break here.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, you were right. All right, we'll pause here. We'll be back in 2 after. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thank
See
you,
you guys
Lisa.
then. Thanks, son.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey Siri, text Lisa.
What would you like to say?
Okay, no problem. I'll see you in just a minute.
Okay, sending.
Okay, welcome back, everybody, and thank you, Lisa. I hope everything's good with your computer. And I did really quickly just want to mention that Bitcoin did another all-time high, broke 123,500, which is exciting. I did really quick. I'll mention that I sent out a update on the Golden Cross to all of those that are on our crypto listserv. You should have got it last week. I did tell everybody that usually after we have such a sign on the indicators that we go up 20 to 100% as far as profits. And we're already seeing that we've been gaining momentum in the market. So, but anyways, Lisa, would you care to comment on anything that we had read from, and then we can go for it?
I'm back. Hopefully the Wi-Fi is much better now and I won't be breaking up as much, I hope. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm just excited to continue reading then because this is such an intriguing story here.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's do it.
Okay, just to make sure I got the right place, are we continuing with when the body of Jesus?
I think it's and the virgin did not cease her weeping.
Okay, there we go. And the virgin did not cease her weeping and wailing, and said, if they have placed my beloved son under the tree of life, I shall not be comforted unless I see him. If they have placed the robe of Solomon over the body of my son, I shall not be comforted unless I see his tomb. If they have poured the perfume of Aaron over the body of my son, I cannot be comforted unless I see his burial place. If they have laid my son in the graves of the prophets, I shall not be comforted unless I see him. If the grave in which my son is lying is that of Elisha, I shall not be comforted unless I see him. If the place in which they have placed my son is paradise itself, I shall not be comforted unless I see him. May the dew of heaven nurture you, O my father Joseph, and may the firmament nourish you, O Nicodemus, for the little good work you did to my son on the cross. Would that I had been weeping under your cross, O my son. Even if I could not find your body, beloved, your blood, because although Jacob did not find the blood of Joseph, he wept over the blood of another. Woe is me, O my beloved son, because I have not seen your body and your blood. If I had found your blood, O my child, I would have purified my garment with it. And if I had found your garment, it would have been as a garment of Joseph to me. The blood over which Jacob wept was a foreign blood, and that over which I weep is flowing from the side of my son. If they have not your bones, O my son, as it is written in their law, so that the malefactors may be delivered from their pain, they have pushed spearhead into your divine side. No evil deed was left, O my beloved, which they did not do to you before they crucified you. And no injustice was left, O my beloved, which they did not do to you. Woe is me, O my beloved son. My reins are bursting inside me. I never saw a physician healing people like you, O my beloved son. And in spite of that, they struck you. You have been a physician to their diseases, which you cured. And in spite of that, they nailed you to the wood of the cross. You have been a physician, O my child, to their men blind, and you gave them their sight. And in spite of that, the unbelieving Jews did not feel ashamed to insult you. You have been a physician, my son, and you drove out their demons from them. And in spite of that, they did not honor you, but said, you drive them out by Beelzebul. You have been a physician, O my son, and cured them from hemorrhage. And in spite of that, they did not feel to be pierced you side, O my beloved. Spearhead. I adjure you, John, to come with me to the tomb of my son. I implore you to accompany me, son, so that I may pay a visit to his cross. I know, O John, that I am putting you to too much trouble with the sorrow of my heart, But have patience. Zen, did you want to comment?
Yes. It's very interesting to me that she mentions when she's blessing Nicodemus and Joseph for having buried the Messiah, that she mentions the firmament. And so we see that in ancient times, biblical cosmology was very well known and common knowledge, that it is the sun and the moon which circle in the heavens within the firmament, and that the earth is again the foundation. The If you look at it as a tent, it's the floor, and that it's the earth is the meeting place between the heavens above and Sheol below. And so, all this is common knowledge, and it's made mention of in this text and other places, as we brought out in the work and the study that we've done. All right, do you want me to read?
Yeah, I just have a quick comment, Zen.
Yes.
That she mentioned all of the different times that Yeshua healed people, and
Right.
there's 3 specific miracles of healing that even the Pharisees taught that only the Messiah could do. And the first one is the healing of a leper that had not been done since Moses got the law, the healing of a man born blind, and the healing of someone possessed with a deaf and dumb demon. So even the Pharisees, all the religious leaders knew that those 3 miracles were what they taught would be signals that was the Messiah, and they still wanted to deny him. So
right, and there's also, also the mention of the issue with the blood of the woman that touched the hem of his garment, and which she was healed from, that particular whatever she was contending with as well. So, yeah, really, really good point.
Right.
All right, continuing. The virgin uttered these and similar words in her lamentations, and said, O John, if I do not see his tomb, I shall not be comforted in my sorrow. And John used to comfort her, saying, Cease your weeping, because they have buried him with perfume, incense, and new wrappings near a garden. The virgin, however, wept, saying, If the ark of Noah were the place of the burial of my son, I shall not be comforted, unless I see him and weep over him. And John said to her, How can you go while 4 soldiers from the soldiers of the governor relying on our, I guess that's a mistypo, relying on the sepulcher. I guess it's like, protecting it. And the virgin remained in this weeping and wailing over her son in the day of his crucifixion, the Sabbath day, to the morning of Sunday. As to the soldiers whom the governor had detailed to guard the tomb, the heads of the Jews had entered with them into a conspiracy unknown to the governor and the centurion, to the effect that if the erring one were perchance to rise, they should inform them of the fact before the governor. For this, and for their not disclosing this conspiracy to Pilate, they were promised much money and silver. The Jews held this conspiracy with the soldiers before the latter went to guard the tomb. When, however, Jesus rose and many signs took place at his resurrection, the soldiers were frightened and terrified and became like dead men. They entered the town early in the morning, and remembering the deceitful words of the Jews, they went to them while it was still dark, before they went to the governor, and apprised them of the fact that Jesus of Nazareth had risen from the dead, as he had predicted. The Jews went then in haste, and related to the high priest the words of the soldiers to the effect that Jesus had risen from the dead. And they shouted, saying, "Woe to the Jews and to their lies, because this day has more evil in it for them than that day in which he was crucified. What shall we do if the governor and the centurion hear that he rose from the dead? We shall all fall into his hands. But let us see first what really took place." And they went to the tomb while it was still early in the morning, and did not find the body of Jesus in it. Then they tore their garments, gave silver to the 4 soldiers, apart from his garments, and said, "Will he appear to everybody?" In short, every one of them in their confusion said something. As to the virgin, she did not neglect to go to the tomb early on Sunday morning. Mary Magdalene had, however, preceded her to the sepulchre, and noticed that the stone had been rolled away from it. And the virgin said, "This is a sign that occurred in the case of my son, and it perplexes me. Who rolled away this stone from the door of the sepulchre?" The virgin looked then in the 4 directions of the tomb, and did not find in it the body of her son. And she sat down and reverted to her wailing and lamentation, and said, "Woe is me! Oh, my beloved son! Who is it that carried your body and added to the sorrow of my heart? I have not been at all to the tomb of my father, nor to that of my mother. When my father died, I was a young girl in the temple. Nor have I ever been to the grave of my father Joseph, who endured so many troubles with you, O my son. This day that I came to your tomb, O my son, in order to inform myself concerning your body, another sorrow has been added to my sorrow. This day that I came to your tomb, O my child, I met with a bitter disappointment, as I did not find your body in it. O my son, on the Golgotha they did not permit me to satisfy my desire for looking at you to my satisfaction, and today they did not allow me to satisfy my desire for looking at your body in the grave, to my heart's desire, on the day of your birth in Bethlehem, O my beloved son. When your star shone, Herod did not glorify you, and on the day of your crucifixion, O my son, when the sun suffered eclipse, the Jews did not believe in you. On the day I brought you forth in Bethlehem, O my son, your angels surrounded you in order to glorify you, and on the day of your resurrection, O my beloved son, your brethren forsook you. I'll read one more paragraph. On the day I brought you forth in Bethlehem, O my beloved son, the shepherds came at daybreak and worshipped you. And on the day of your death, O my beloved son, I came to your tomb and did not find your body in it. On the day I brought you forth in Bethlehem, O my son, the Magi came to you with their offerings. And on the day of your crucifixion, O my son, a wicked robber insulted you. The day of your birth in Bethlehem, O my son, the animals praised it. And on the day of your crucifixion, O my beloved, I met with pain and sorrow. On the day of your birth in Bethlehem, O my beloved son, Joseph served you. And on the day of your crucifixion, my beloved son, the same Joseph my father died. Woe is me! O my beloved, there is no sorrow like my sorrow, nor is there any pain like the pain of a mother looking at her son on the wood of the cross. I went to Golgotha and did not see your body on the wood of the cross, and I came to the door of your tomb, asking for you, and you did not answer me. Woe is me, O my beloved son, my sorrow is twofold today, because I did not see your body on the wood, so that I might weep over it, and because I did not find it in the tomb, so I might worship it. I adjure the 4 soldiers who keep watch over your tomb and your body to deliver your body, if perchance they have removed it through bribery. I implore Joseph and weep before Nicodemus to reassure me concerning your body, since they took it on their own responsibility from Pilate and laid it in the tomb. I have never seen Joseph, nor do I know Nicodemus, but on account of the intensity of my pain, I let my heart go to them. All right, care to comment?
It's just so amazing, all these details that we don't get in the Bible. But I really appreciate this writing because it really brings out the emotions of Mary. I mean, you can just hear her emotions, all the different, oh my this and oh my that. It's just, she's crying while she's saying all this. Like she is just, she's at the tomb and she's just thinking like, oh my goodness, the body's not here. What did the Jews do to him now?
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah, she thought that, and she knew also that he had said that he would be resurrected after 3 days, but who believed him, who really believed? And so she thought that somebody had taken his body, but of course we'll see he comes to her and comforts her like a good son. But would you care to read?
Sure. This is what the virgin said over the tomb of her son. She was perplexed in her soul from her fear of the Jews and from the fact that she did not find the body of her son in the tomb. While she was thinking deeply, a sudden light shone, and an exquisite perfume was perceived from the right side of the tomb, as if wafted from an incense tree. The virgin looked towards the direction of the scent and saw the good God standing, clad in a heavenly robe, and his face greatly suffused with joy. And he said to her, "O woman, what makes you burst into this affectionate wailing at this empty tomb, which contains no body?" And she replied, "It is my sorrow, and this sorrow, O my Lord, arises from the fact that I did not find the body of my son, so that I might weep over it and be somewhat comforted." And Jesus said to her, "If you were not satisfied in weeping and wailing throughout all this length of time, had you found the body of your son in the tomb, you would have never ceased your lamentation." And she replied, "Oh my Lord, if I had found it, I would have been somewhat comforted by it." And he said to her, "Oh woman, if you had seen your son dead, you would have had no comfort in looking at his side pierced with a spear, his hands and feet wounded by the driving of nails in them, and at his body smeared with blood. Now, O woman, comfort yourself, because it was more advantageous for you not to have seen him dead, and wept all the more over him. What comfort did you derive when you saw him alive on the cross, and dead with wrappings round him? Truly, woman, you have had much courage in your soul in coming to this place while it is still dark, and while all this great disturbance reigns in the town. The guards went from here and are now conspiring with the Jews in lying terms concerning your son. Does the tomb in which the body of your son was laid belong to the Jews? No, woman, I know the man called Joseph, and this garden belongs to him." And the virgin said to him, "Oh my Lord, you know everything that happened to my son, and the love which they showed to him in laying him in this tomb. I could not bear to stay in the house of John any longer, but I came to inquire after him. Now, my Lord, since you are the owner of the garden, and the beauty of your dresses and the sweet words with which you have answered me testify to this, if there is pity in your heart for me, show it to me now, because I have no other child. Disclose to me his secret, and what they did with his body, since I did not find him in his tomb. Have the Jews carried it away because of their hatred for the governor concerning it? And also, my Lord, if it is hidden in your garden, and you know who took it there, have pity on me, and show me its place, so I may just see it. By your life, O my brother, I have never seen this place except today. Did you want to comment, Zen?
Sorry, I unmuted. Yes, here we see that Mary, this is Christ come in his resurrected form. And many people did not recognize him when he was in this glorious form. And he was able to, to take on different appearances, so that, certain people wouldn't recognize him. But after speaking to, it reminds me of the story when, in the city of the man-eaters, when he went to Andrew and Matthias, and how he had led Matthias to go to Andrew on the ship. He didn't recognize him as the Messiah. And this is the same way that here Mary is speaking to her resurrected son, but she did not recognize him initially as being her son. But of course, he will, as we'll see in the story, he reveals who he is to her, and to assure her and to comfort her that he has resurrected and that he's been brought out from death and from the grave.
Right. I have a quick comment about that too, Zen, about him being able to change forms.
Yeah,
because there's quite a bit of information in the revelation of the Magi, if you remember, about him changing to all different sorts of forms, and they each see him in a different form. Did you want me to read just a few sentences of this? I have it pulled up in chapter 14.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. All right, so this is from Revelation of the Magi. It's an extra biblical. There's a summary of it in the New Testament Apocrypha, but I actually bought the actual book. So this is from chapter 14, and it's titled "The Magi Realize Christ's Polymorphism," which means he's able to morph into different shapes. So these are things that the Magi sees him as. It says, "There is one saying, I saw a light in which there were many images that were amazing. I saw an infant who had unspeakable forms. I saw a youth who did not have a form in this world. I saw a human being who was humble, unsightly, and poor. I saw a cross and a person of light who, having upon it, taking all the sins of the entire world." One was saying, "I saw he went down to Sheol with force, and all the dead rose and worshipped him." And one saying, "I saw he ascended in glory and opened the graves and raised up the dead, while they are crying and saying, 'Holy is our King, and holy is our descent to us.' And one was saying, 'I saw him ascending to the heavenly height and angels opening the gates.'" So I just thought that was cool because it really shows that he does take on all these different forms.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you read and shared that, because that is what I had thought about too, when I made mention of that particular account, because he can, he can show himself to be whatever he wants to be according to who is looking at him or seeking him. And we see that also confirmed within this story. All right.
Right.
Let us continue. And Jesus said to her, "Oh, Mary, you have wept sufficiently. The living one is the one who is speaking to you. The one who was crucified is now standing near you. The one whom you are speaking or seeking is the one who is comforting you. The one for whom you are asking is the one who is clad in this heavenly robe. The one whose tomb you are wishing to see is the one who smashed the doors of brass. Oh, Mary, recognize my glory. Lo, I am comforting you with the words of life. Be not ashamed, therefore, nor afraid. Look at my face, O my mother, and you will recognize me. It is I who raised Lazarus in Bethany. It is I, Jesus, who is in resurrection and life, who is resurrection and life. It is I, Jesus, whose blood flowed on the rock in Cranion. It is I, Jesus, who is comforting you in your sorrow. It is I, Jesus, over whom you are weeping, who is now comforting you at the beginning of his resurrection. No one took away my body, O my mother, but I rose according to the will of my Father. You came today to the tomb of my mother, O my mother, and I took up out of Hades all those who were fettered in it, and saved those who had fallen into sin. I'll just make mention really quickly that this was the promise fulfilled that he had given to Adam when he cast him out of paradise. He told him that after 5,500 years, he would be born of his bloodline. He would take on mortal form. And when he died on the cross, as it is revealed also in the manuscript, The Ascension of Isaiah, that Isaiah was given and shown this vision as well and wrote it down for us in that manuscript. But he told us that a long time ago that when he died on the cross, he would descend down into Hades and free Adam and all of the other righteous descendants that had been bound and were held in Abraham's bosom until his return. Until his coming, his first advent. And this was what is also referenced in the Bible as the first resurrection. In Matthew, it says that many of the graves were open, and many of those that were in it were seen all over Jerusalem. And we get the story from Corinthius and Licinius, the two children of Simeon, who had the high priest Simeon, who had died. When they were resurrected, they were not able to speak, but they were asked to write down what they had witnessed with regard to Christ descending into Sheol and freeing them from its bondage. And they both had paper and pen and wrote down the description of what they had seen and how they had seen it. And it came to be, God willing, an exact account of each other, so that, as the Bible says, out of the mouths of 2 or 3 witnesses shall the truth be established. And that became part of the Gospel of Nicodemus, Christ's descent into Sheol. Lisa, would you care to comment before I move on?
I'm so glad you brought that up, Zen. I was just going to say, what about Gospel of Nicodemus? There's so many good things in there that really align with this text and this part, right there. And you're right, yeah. Isaiah even records it in his book in the Bible that he brings up the captives. He came to set the captives free, and he brings them up on his I guess it's coattails. You could get to heaven.
Right.
So more details about that in that text for sure.
Right. And in the Odes of Solomon, that is also made mention. All right, let us continue. When the virgin heard this, she received strength and comfort, and ceased her weeping and anxiety. She lifted up her eyes from the ground, filled her sight from him, saw him in the grace of his divinity, and said, You have truly risen, O my son and my Lord. You have truly risen. And she bent over him and embraced him. And he said to her, Enough, O mother, of this joy which I granted you through my resurrection. Look now at the spoliation of Hades, O my mother, and see how glad and joyful its inmates are. I shall present them as an offering to my Father before I take them to paradise. And the virgin looked round him and saw the multitudes, which he had taken up from Hades, clad in white robes. She was amazed at them. And Jesus said to her, Go in haste and announce my resurrection from the dead to my brethren. Go in haste, O my mother. Leave this place and do not stand at the right side of my tomb, because a company of the Jews will come with Pilate to find out what took place, and see if I would raise the dead and give sight to the blind and motion to the lame. Lisa?
This part is so I feel just like rejoicing, like, yes, finally he's revealing who he is to her. And we get a little of this in the Bible as well, where she thinks he's the gardener, but not this entire conversation.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and warning her about, the Jews and the Pilate coming, which is a very interesting part of the story. So I definitely would like to try to get that into this show. So let's continue reading.
Okay.
I'll turn it over to you.
All right. All right. After the Lord Jesus said this to his mother, he disappeared from her sight. She then left the tomb with haste and went and told the apostles and the women that the Lord had risen from the dead. And they also came to see what had happened. The news spread then in all the town that Jesus of Nazareth rose from the dead as he had said, and that he told his mother, I will receive you to Jerusalem. You will all see me, and I will bless you there. As to the high priests and the Jews, they went in the morning to Pilate, the governor, as if they heard nothing, and said to him, O our Lord Governor, error has increased, and scandals have multiplied today at the sepulchre. Summon the soldiers one by one, so they may relate his story to us before any of us goes there. And Pilate said to them, I heard that he rose from the dead. I believe what I saw in a vision, that Jesus rose this day from the dead. By the life of the emperor and by the law of Moses, I do not lie when I say that I saw him last night while I was lying in my bed, and was grieved at the fact that I had laid hands on him, and thought that perchance he may be the Son of God, on account of the signs that appeared in heaven when he died on the cross. I saw him standing and shining more than the sun. All the town, except the gathering place of the Jews, shone with his light more than the light of the sun. And he said to me, O Pilate, why are you weeping because you ordered Jesus to be flogged? What is written about him has been fulfilled. Return to me, and I will forgive you. I am Jesus who died on the cross. I am Jesus who rose today from the dead. This light which you see today is the glory of my resurrection, which has enlightened all the world with joy. Look well, Pilate, and see that this sign, which shines on the inhabited earth, is more luminous than the light of the sun, and is to convince you that I rose from the dead. Hasten to my tomb, and you will see the wrappings lying in it, guarded by angels. Kiss them and worship them. Fight for my resurrection, and you will witness many miracles today at the sepulchre. The lame shall walk, the blind shall see, and the dead shall rise by my power. O Pilate, you will shine in the light of my resurrection, which the Jews will deny. Then, did you want me to continue?
Yeah, I think that's again, that's a very important part. And it's what I wanted to bring forth in this show specifically was that the Jews, as well as Pilate, they knew that Christ was going to be resurrected. It was common knowledge. He had told his apostles as well as told the crowds that had come to see him speak and to see him perform his miracles. And so it was not, even though, of course, everybody was shocked and mind blown when it actually happened, it was something that he had told them about previously. So we see in this accounting that all of this is confirmed, and it's not greatly emphasized in the other manuscripts. Like in the gospel, we get the sense that even the apostles didn't know what he was talking about with regard to the sign of Jonah and that he would be raised from the grave. But in truth, they did know. They didn't know if it was actually going to happen, but he certainly told them, informed them, and had notified them as to, that this was eventually going to happen. But we see in this text, in this manuscript, that even though the Jews tried to buy off the centurions, they spoke the truth, and Pilate found out the truth as well. And it gets even more incredible as we go on. So let's continue. All right, where were we? As to the high priest, is that it?
When Pilate uttered these words.
Okay. Yes, thank you. When Pilate uttered these words in his house, the Jews raised their voices and said, O our Lord, the Emir, it is not necessary to relate all this to the people, as it is nothing but a dream. The law says, at the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, every word is established. Instead of 3 witnesses, lo, there are 4 who guarded the tomb. If these tell you that he rose, their words are true. And if they do not do so, we shall have nothing to do with these dreams. Then Pilate summoned the 4 soldiers and said to them, what happened today at the sepulchre? And they divided curse among themselves and lied and said that he did not rise but was carried away. And Pilate ordered that they should be separated from one another in different places. The first one was then ushered in, and Pilate said to him, tell me the truth, who carried away the body of Jesus? And he answered, Peter and John. And the governor ordered him to be removed to a place by himself. Then he summoned the second one and said to him, I know that you do not speak but the truth. Tell me, which of the apostles carried away the body of Jesus from the tomb? And he answered, the 11 apostles came with his disciples and carried him away by stealth. And Pilate ordered that this one also should be removed to a place by himself. He then summoned the third one and said to him, I value your testimony more than that of all the others. Tell me, who carried away the body of Jesus from the sepulchre? And he answered, Joseph and Nicodemus. Pilate then called the fourth one and said to him, you are the head of these soldiers, and I confided them to you. Disclose to me now all what took place, and how they removed the body of Jesus from the tomb while you were guarding it. And he answered, our Lord, the Emir, we were asleep, and we do not know who carried it away. When we woke up, we looked for it and found it below the water which is in the garden. And we said that they did this out of fear. Then Pilate said to the Jews and to the centurion, are these words consistent? Are they not sustained by lies? And he ordered that the soldiers should be kept under guard until he had gone himself to the tomb. Then he arose with the high priest and the heads of the soldiers and went to the tomb. They found the wrappings lying in the tomb without the body. And Pilate said, O men who hate their own life, if they had taken away the body, would they have taken the wrappings with it? And the Jews answered, see, these wrappings do not belong to him, but to someone else. And Pilate recalled the words of Jesus to him, that great miracles will take place in the sepulchre. And he hastened and entered into it. And he took the wrappings, that is to say, the pieces of linen with which Jesus was shrouded, wept over them, and embraced them with joy. Then he looked at the centurion who was standing at the entrance of the tomb, and who was with one eye only, as his other eye had been put out in a war. And a considerable time had elapsed without him having seen anything with it. Pilate then conceived the idea, through the greatness of his faith, that these wrappings will give light to the centurion's eye. And with this thought, he presented the wrappings to him and said, O my brother, do you not perceive the exquisiteness of the odor of these wrappings, and see as if they were sprinkled with perfume and incense? And the Jews said, O Pilate, you know that Joseph placed on him much perfume and incense, and that they shrouded him with myrrh and sweet spices of aloe, and this sweet scent comes from them. And Pilate said to them, if they place perfumes on the wrappings only, why is all this tomb perfumed with musk and sweet spices of high value and exquisite odor? And they answered, the scent that you are smelling is the odor of the flowers of the gardens, wafted by the winds. And Pilate replied to them, you have trodden on the path of perdition for yourselves, have walked in it and fallen in a place from which you will have no deliverance forever. And they said to him, Nothing is due to you from us, and you had no right to come to the tomb of this man. You are the governor of the city, and not of this tomb. Lo, the high priests and the heads of the Jews are cognizant of the affair, and it does not behoove you to fight the Jews for the sake of a dead man. All right, I'll turn it over to you, Lisa.
Okay, I was laughing because I love it how Pilate just is questioning the soldiers one by one.
Right,
They don't give the right
exactly.
answer, puts them away by themselves, just like that.
Yes, he was
And
very
also too,
smart in his questioning.
yeah. Oh yeah, and then also I love it with the sweet smell. It reminds me of the story of Joseph and Asenath, where Asenath perceives like this sweet odor right before the angel appears, and
Right.
and it's like it seems like heavenly beings, and it accompanies like with them a sweet odor, and I'm sure especially with the Messiah.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, without a doubt. The odors of paradise following him.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And I think that might be the same thing as like even the incense and the myrrh, which the wise
Right.
men brought to him, from
Yes.
the cave.
Right. Yes. The Magi.
Right. All right. Should we continue? Or you
Yes.
have anything else
Please
then?
read.
Okay. And Pilate said to the centurion, "Oh, brother, do you not notice the bitterness of the hatred that the Jews have for the Lord Jesus? We have acted according to their desires and have crucified him. And all the world was on the brink of ruin and destruction on account of this injustice. They want us now to stumble on their sin and avert that he is not risen from the dead, in order that his wrath may come back on another time and destroy us completely." Pilate uttered these words to the centurion while holding the wrappings with his hands and embracing them. Then he said, "I believe that the body which has been wrapped in you rose from the dead." And the centurion also had faith like Pilate, and seizing the wrappings, he embraced them. And when they touched his face, he immediately saw with a blind eye as before, as if Jesus had laid his hand on it, as he had done with the man who was born blind. How great was the spectacle of the multitude who had also gone to the tomb. They were from all countries, and they had come to Jerusalem for the Passover, and seen Jesus on the cross on the day of the crucifixion. When they had heard that Pilate had gone to the sepulchre to see whether Jesus had risen, they also had come with the expectation that he might rise and appear to them like Lazarus. This is the reason why great multitudes had come to the tomb of Jesus in order to see him, and they beheld the great miracles and how the centurion saw and were amazed at what Jesus had done. And Pilate said to the centurion, "Oh, my brother, observe the miracles of Jesus in his tomb apart from the miracles that took place at his death on the cross." And the centurion tore up his clothes in order the better to show his joy and the favor which he had received, and said, "The power of Jesus had been made manifest. He is truly God and Son of God, and I have believed in him. My faith has increased from the fact that he, being God, rose from the dead. I shall not serve a king anymore, but solely my God, Jesus." And he threw away his sword and gave up his military career. While the wrappings were twisted around his hands, he ran to this place and that place and embraced them. And Pilate was greatly amazed and glorified God. And the Jews said to the centurion, "You are a stranger, and you do not know the deeds done by Jesus through Beelzebul."
All right.
You
Yeah.
have any
Let's stop
comment on
there for a
that?
second. Um, we see that this is the story of Longinus, which we get a different accounting here, but without a doubt, you see that Pilate was a believer in the Messiah, and that he knew that Jesus, Yahushua, was the Son of God, and that all the people were believers as well. And going to the grave and seeing the miracles, they knew that death was overthrown. he had not been, he'd not succumbed to it in the way that normal humans do. Meaning that, of course, that he was the one that descended down in Sheol and took up the souls of the righteous back to paradise and restored them to their first estate. So he is the arbiter of death and life. He holds the keys of resurrection and salvation. And that's why those who believe on him and the promise of the cross, we are extended the grace of eternity, which, how amazing is that? Lisa, care to
Oh, so yeah, the last sentence I just read is just so, oh my goodness, the Jews, they're just so revolting. The centurion got done hugging everybody with the wrappings all in his hands so that other people might be healed as well from the way he was.
Right.
And then the Jews would say, you're a stranger, you don't know the deeds. And they again, even after all of these miracles, they still attribute them done by Beelzebul. Just ridiculous.
Right. And this also reminds me of the infancy gospels, because it was by the swaddling clothes that Mary was able to heal lepers, people that were possessed, that had diseases and issues.
Yeah.
And even with the bathwater. And so, in the same way, Christ and the things that he touches, he imbues them with his power. In the same way that the woman that touched his garment was healed. And so, without a doubt, he has the providence of, and, the backing of heaven, that he has the Father's authority and that he was born with this. And he died with it and was resurrected with it.
Right.
All right,
It's so
please
true.
continue after you're done. Go ahead.
All right. What he did in his life, he is now doing at his death. And they added, when a sorcerer dies, the genie do other deeds in his grave, and they deceive many people through them. These deeds indeed, those are the sorcerers and conjurers. And Pilate said to them, we have never heard that sorcerers and conjurers perform such miracles. Since you are heaping lies out of your own mind on the life of the Lord, his wrath will come on you. And they said, we deliver our souls to judgment. May his blood be on us and our children forever and ever. And Pilate said to the centurion, oh, my brother, do not exchange cheaply the great gift which you have received for the lie of the hatred of the Jews. Then Pilate turned to the Jews and said to them, where is the dead man who you said was Jesus? It is perchance he. And the Jews preceded Pilate and the centurion to the well, which was in the garden, and it was a deep well. And Gamaliel was following with the crowd. And they went down to the bottom of the well and found in it the dead man shrouded and laid in a separate place. And the Jews shouted, here is the Nazarene sorcerer who gave us so much trouble. You say that he rose and he is at the bottom of the well. And Pilate ordered them to draw him up and summoned Joseph and Nicodemus and said to them, are these the wrappings with which you shrouded the body of Jesus? And they answered, the wrappings which you are holding in your hands are those of Jesus. As to this corpse, it is that of the robber who was crucified with Jesus. And the company of the Jews threw themselves on Joseph and Nicodemus, wishing to cast them into the depth of the well, because they had spoken the truth. They would have done it were it not for the fact that Pilate and his soldiers shielded them. When Pilate noticed their confusion and their cry, he beckoned to them to be quiet. He had full confidence in the words spoken to him by the Lord Jesus, to the effect that dead men would rise from his tomb. He summoned, therefore, the heads of the Jews and said to them, we do not believe at all that this is Jesus of Nazareth. And they replied to him, if you believe it or do not believe it, we do believe it. And he said to them, it is right then that we should leave him in his tomb like other dead men. And he summoned Joseph and Nicodemus another time and said to them, shroud him with these wrappings as before. And the Jews shouted, we do not accept Joseph, and Nicodemus has no portion with us, because his portion is with Jesus. And Pilate said, I have greater right. Then they took the wrappings that belonged to the Lord Jesus and shrouded the body of that dead man with them. And Pilate and his soldiers lifted it and placed it in the tomb in which Jesus lay. And he ordered the people to place the stone at the entrance of the tomb, as they had done in the case of Jesus. Then Pilate stretched his hands and prayed at the door of the sepulchre and said thus, I implore you today, Lord Jesus, you are the resurrection and the giver of life to all and to the dead. I believe that you rose again as you appeared to me. Do not judge me, my Lord, because I am doing. I have not done it from fear of the Jews, nor to test your resurrection. O my Lord, I have confidence in your words and in the miracles which you have wrought. You are living because you raised many dead men. Now, my Lord, do not be angry with me because I placed a foreign corpse in the place in which you lay your body. I did this to put to shame and confusion those who deny your resurrection. To them belongs shame and confusion forever and ever, and to you are due glory and honor from the mouth of your servant Pilate forever and forever and ever. When Pilate recited this prayer, outstretched hands at the tomb, a voice came from the dead man saying, O my Lord Pilate, open to me the door of the tomb in order that I may come out. I was the first to open the door of paradise. Lift the stone, my Lord Pilate, so that I may come out by the power of my Lord Jesus Christ, who rose from the dead. And Pilate shouted with jubilation on account of the joy and happiness which filled his heart and his soul to such an extent that the rock echoed his voice. And he then ordered the people that were standing to lift the stone from the door of the tomb. And immediately the dead man came out walking, and he bowed before Pilate the governor. As to the Jews who were present, they were seized with panic, shame, and confusion, and ran away wailing secretly from their fear of the governor.
All right, let's stop here for
Zen?
just a second. We only got a few
Okay.
minutes, so I just want to show, and comment on how it was. And this is a story that we don't get either. But Pilate, being a believer and knowing that Christ would perform many miracles after his resurrection, that's why he tested. And this robber was resurrected with the wrappings, and which confirmed in the rest of the story, he gives account that he is not Christ, as the Jews were trying to make everybody believe and to deceive them and to explain away his resurrection. So, we didn't get to all that we had, but certainly I do encourage people to read the rest of the story. You should read the full accounting, because it was, because Pilate was a believer, his wife was a believer. They died for their belief. They were crucified as well. And the story of Mary's death and how she was taken up into paradise as well is part of this manuscript. But as you see, it goes into great detail on the Passion of Christ, much more than most other stories and most other accounts. And reading it, it will bless your life, and it will give you greater understanding as to the depth of all the happenings that occurred on that day of the crucifixion event. Lisa, final comment.
This is such an uplifting story, Zen. I see everyone in the chat. They're so blessed by reading this today. I'm totally blessed too. Thank you so much, Zen, for suggesting this story. If anyone is having doubts or having depression or having thoughts where everything just seems really sad, just read this story. It's so encouraging.
Yes, and we will do a second part and maybe a third to cover the rest of the manuscript, since there is such great interest in it. And as it has already, it will bless your life. And I sometimes, as you saw, I struggle sometimes to weep, to not cry, because when you read about all that Christ had gone through and what he did for us, it's just amazing, and it's so deeply touching. And for believers, the Spirit really comes down on you and moves you to where you feel, you really feel what he had gone through and what he did for us and how much he loves us. And we're just so blessed. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lisa.
I agree. It makes our problems seem minuscule compared to all that he went through for us.
Right. Absolutely. And, for those that are not yet believers, if you don't understand the story of the resurrection of Christ and how, he truly is God incarnate in the flesh and that he came to redeem us and to rectify the fall, please read the Bible, understand the word, because salvation is through the promise of the cross. He is the Son of God. He is God. He is Elohim. And we are given, eternity through him, which is the greatest gift that anybody could ever imagine. All right, everybody. We are going to go, but we'll see you next week. On Saturday, join us for DRC. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Seth.
Be blessed all.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Blessings, guys. Good night.
Blessings.